Now that we have created a project in Visual Studio Team Services, let's go and deploy app to Azure with Visual Studio. In your Visual Studio, go to your Team Explorer, and if you are not able to find this window, just go to View and then go to Team Explorer. To create a local copy of the project that you have created in VSTS, just select Clone. Just give the password when it prompts you to. So you are downloading the project from the cloud, which is at this particular location, to your local repository. And you see that we have the project downloaded with a README file. So to create a new sample solution, go to your Team Explorer and under Solutions, click New. Select Web Templates and under Web Templates, go to ASP.NET Web Application. If you want, you can create a .NET Core app as well, but that really does not matter what you choose. So just give the name of the project, any name. I will give it as DevOps and just say OK. So let's create an MVC project. Once the project is created, under Solution Explorer, you should see a sample project that's been created for you. So now that we have already created a project locally, we will publish this project to Azure. So to publish the project, right click on your project name and say publish. In the Pick a Publish Target window, just select App Service and you can choose any of the two options here. If you already have created App Service within your Azure account, select Existing, or if you want to create new one, you can go and do that. So I think I do not have one, so let me go and create one. So it has populated a default app name and hosting plan. So let me change the app name and let me change the hosting plan as well. A hosting plan is nothing but your app service plan, which is nothing but the container for your app. It provides compute resources and other features. So let me enter a custom app service plan name and choose the location and size. Let me go for free, and once your hosting plan is created, just say create. So this will first create an app service plan and then deploy your app into the app service that you have created. Meanwhile, you can log into Azure, and I note that an app service and an app service plan is already created. And if you go to the website URL, you can see the web app that's been created there. So congratulations, you have deployed your ASP.NET web app to Azure. In this video, we will create a build definition for CI and CD. The starting point for setting up continuous integration and continuous delivery for your applications is having your source code in a version control system. And team services support two forms of version control. The first one is the open source Git version control, and the second one is the Team Foundation version control. And your build service integrates really well with both of these version control systems. So after you configure continuous integration, any changes that you push to your version control repository are automatically built and validated. You can also manage your own source code by using other systems like Subversion, Bitbucket, GitHub, or any other Git repository. And rest assured that your build service integrates well with all of these version control systems. To create a continuous integration, first you need to create a build definition. And a build definition is nothing but a representation of the automation process that you want to run to build and test your application. So the automation process that I mentioned here is defined as a collection of tasks. So if you go to Visual Studio Team Services and look for some build definition, the build definition is nothing but a series of tasks. And Team Services has various tasks that you can use to build your application and test your application. For an example, you can use tasks to build your .NET, Java, Node, Android, Xcode and C++ applications. So it really is a rich collection of tasks. And if that is not enough, your team services also has tasks that can run your tests by using various testing frameworks and services. For example, for my .NET project, if I have written NUnit test, then you can make use of the NUnit library to run my NUnit test on the source code. Notwithstanding this, you can also run command line, PowerShell or shell scripts in your automation. As discussed earlier, manually deploying or updating your app from Visual Studio directly is not recommended for production scenarios. So instead, you should use a source control and continuous integration and continuous delivery solution like your Visual Studio Team Services. In this video, you will look at how to create your team services build definition and commit Visual Studio Code to a team services project and then create and run a team services build. So let me go to Visual Studio first. And we have already created an application locally. So first we need to go and push that to VSTS. So go to your Team Explorer and within Team Explorer go to Changes, and Changes will basically show all the different items that you have added or modified or deleted since the last sync from VSTS. So enter a commit message like first commit and just say commit and sync or commit all and sync. So if you just say commit all, it will just commit locally, and if you say commit all and push, it will not take the changes or the latest changes from the server and it will directly push your changes. So you might lose some changes which are already there in the server. So commit all and sync, what it will do is, first it will pull down all the latest changes from the server and then merge it locally and then push the latest one to the server. So we will do commit all and sync. And once your sync is done, you can see in the summary the commit that you have made. If you go to your dashboard and if you go to code section, you can see the files that we pushed from local, and note also the commit message that we entered against each file. So once we have this code in VSTS, we can create a team services build definition. In team services, you use a build definition to outline how your application should be built. So now we will create a basic definition that uses our source code to build the solution. The output of this build process will be some artifacts that you can take it and push it to a web app in Azure. So first go to build and releases tab and go to builds. In the build definition page, select new definition. You can build your solution from any of the different Git source repositories. Here we have VSTS as the source and the team project is DevOps, and make sure the correct repository is selected and the master branch is fine. So let me say continue. In this page, you are supposed to select a template that builds our kind of solution. So we are going to build for Azure Web App. So I will select this and say apply. A build definition is nothing but a list of tasks that needs to be created while building your solution. So here if you see, we have some task that kind of installs our NuGet packages, and here is the task that builds our solution and it runs some tests and few other tasks. So in the main definition, what you need to do is you need to supply the Azure subscription that is associated to this particular account. So let me select the subscription and say authorize. So the pop-up is blocked and that's the reason I'm not able to authorize. So just go and allow the pop-up and let me say authorize and go into advanced options. So when you click OK, a new Azure Service Principal will be created and assigned with a contributor role having access to all the resources within the selected subscription. If you want that service principal to only have access to a particular resource group, then you can add a resource group here. A service principal is nothing but a service account that can have access to deploy to Azure Web Apps. I will not select any resource group. I will give access to the entire subscription and just say OK. And here you need to authorize by signing into your Azure subscription. So let me enter the correct one and just say next. And once you are able to successfully authorize to Azure, it will set up a service principal and connect to the endpoint. And you need to tell the build services to which particular app you need to deploy. So let me select the app that I had created. And to enable continuous integration, you need to go into the triggers tab and check enable continuous integration. So this will basically build a solution automatically when you make a new change and commit to the solution. So let's save the changes by going to save and queue and then say save and queue. So what this will do is it will save your build definition and it will queue a new build. So in this pop-up, let's not make any changes and just say save and queue. Once saved, you will get a message saying that the build has been queued. So let's go to the builds tab and you see the build that has been queued. So this is the build definition, and if you go to the queue tab, you note that the build is running. So just select the build. So our solution is waiting to be built by an agent. And as the build is scheduled to work on a hosted agent, it gets built and gets deployed to Azure. So you see that the build has succeeded and there are no tests that have been run. A few more information. If you go to the timeline tab, you can see the list of artifacts that have been built. And if you go to the artifacts tab, you will see a drop folder. So just say explore. And if you click onto this drop folder, you will see the list of files that have been deployed to Azure. And our source code is present within this zip file. So close the window. And if you go to your web page and refresh the page, you will see the same website because we did not make any changes in Visual Studio. So congratulations, your application was deployed to Azure Web Apps by Team Services. So if you need more information of the deployment, you can go to Azure and into your app service. And if you come down to deployment options, you will see a message that says your app is set up to use continuous delivery with Visual Studio Team Services. If you go to Deployment Center, you will see some details of the build, whether it was successful and the time it was used to build. So in this video, you created a Visual Studio Team Services build definition for CI and CD and deployed the web app to Azure, and we also deployed to Azure using Visual Studio Team Services. But notice we have not really seen the power of continuous integration. By power of continuous integration, I mean that as a developer, when I check in the code, automatically the build should be built and automatically it should be deployed. So automatically building your solution is called continuous integration, and automatically deploying to different environments is called continuous delivery. So we have not really seen that power. So what we will do in the next video is we will try to update our app and see how the build process kicks off. Thank you.